This morning, the Labour Court of Berlin decided that removing a janitor from his job for his political views was righteous. He sued against his former employer, the Bundeswehr, which is the army of Germany, over his supposed connections to right-wing extremism and the ensuing loss of his job. I don't know the details of this case, and I really can't find it. Here is the number, the file number, so somebody can jump in and maybe find the full documentation of it, but I can't find it right now on my own. But anyway, what it reflects is a large cleaning, a purge of uh, people who think differently from their very jobs. And I mean, this is not about right-wing extremism. I have no idea about this particular man and his connections to what groups, but given that the Verfassungsschutz, the Secret Service that is supposed to look into our thought crimes on the civilian level, that they classify the generation identity already as right-wing extremist, lets me doubt that this is a righteous decision. And outside of that, even if I completely disagree with the groups people have connections with, I still believe they should not lose their jobs and their livelihoods over it, because it is a basic human right to form connections and alliances with whatever people you want. If we can allow communists to have connections with people in Cuba, with people in Venezuela, with people in China, I have, very little argument with people who have connections to Hitler worshippers. But as I said, the generation identity is even classified officially now as a right-wing extremist group, and as such, I have my strongest doubts that this is about some real neo-Nazi stuff. It could be still. I have no details of the case, but ultimately, for us all to be able to be political and to discuss what is going on around us, we must set the bar on the principle, and therefore this decision was a bad one. And this even goes outside my usual approach to labor regulation and so on, where I'd say you shouldn't even go to court, maybe for keeping your job, because if the trust is already so much eroded that you have to go to court to keep your job, it's most likely that you will not move upwards or get anything going anymore, and you should maybe just align with somebody else and do something different with different people. But what this is about is really an ostracism of people from the market and from the labor force, and it is an attack on our livelihood. Because I believe this is not just an individual case, it's just one that they have singled out for the media to discuss, and is part of their larger assault on our military. What it reflects for me is the suspicion people have of the military and how fearful they are of everybody who is associated in it, and uh, even those civilians who only work as janitors can come into the crosshairs. I have spoken a lot in the past about the Verfassungsschutz, which is the Secret Service exclusively occupied with looking into your thought crimes and making sure that you are ideologically pure. But there is also a second Secret Service that is exclusively responsible for your thoughts when you are a member of the military. I assume that this second service was not looking into this janitor's connections, but it speaks of the larger disrespect and mistrust for the military. And this group, this intelligence service, is quite aptly called MAD. This stands for the Militärischer Abwehrdienst, the Military Defense Service. It is a coincidence that the acronyms describe the English word MAD, But in my opinion, it really speaks to the truth that a government being so suspicious of its own military is mad. Yesterday it was announced that Ursula von der Leyen, our former defense minister, who officially steps down today, has gained the office of the presidency of the EU Commission. I have spoken about this in the past, and I'm actually surprised that it came to fruition. Even I, as a pessimist, thought somebody would actually stop her. She is terrible, and I plan to do a video about it, but I have 100 videos I planned to do. And as things look now, she has completely demolished the entire army, had staged a number of witch hunts to remove all vintage weapons and so on that could remind people of something in the past, not just only the Hitler time, but also some earlier times. And it was really a weird witch hunt about how people could think who worked for the military. This is now spilling over even to janitors who don't have any access to weapons, this entire mistrust. And it is really driving out every real soldier, let's say, out of the army. And we have now hardly any vehicle that still moves, a helicopter that still flies. It is how bad it is. And for purposes, this woman has now moved on to become the president of the EU Commission. Her successor will be, of all people, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, AKK, or if you can't pronounce that, that's Annegret for you. She is the speaker of the conservative, or the formerly conservative party, CDU. It is no longer a conservative party, it is Angela Merkel's party. They do not follow one single conservative policy at all. And she is now the new defense secretary. Of course, she had never served. She has absolutely no idea about engineering, about weaponry, about leadership, anything. She had been a party activist for all her life, with actually no exception. She never held a real job. And now she is leading the army. So that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.